Hi, this is Don McAllister, and welcome to another edition of Screencasts Online. In episodes 631 and 635, we looked at the updates to Pages and Numbers on both Mac and iOS. In this episode, it's the turn of Keynote, Apple's premier presentation software. As with the previous Pages and Numbers shows, there are some elements of commonality, hence there may be some repetition, but in this tutorial, as well as looking at the core functionality of Keynote, I'll mainly be focusing on the new features of Keynote since we last covered the application. So let's make a start by taking a look at Keynote on the Mac.